Last of Us Part 2 is the long-awaited sequel to the critically acclaimed The Last of Us, developed by Naughty Dog. Fans fell in love with the 2013 title almost instantly, with an incredible story, a bleak and terrifying apocalyptic setting, and main characters everybody got behind in Joel and Ellie. The Last of Us was the ideal mix of drama, action, and horror, with twists and turns to keep players at the edge of their seat, and emotional and powerful cutscenes that had everybody in tears. Winning over 240 Game of the Year awards, and deservedly so, The Last of Us, in short, was the perfect game. But did its sequel that fans waited 7 years for live up to its immense hype? I'm Keelan from the Nerd Grid, and this is our review of The Last of Us Part 2. And yes, there will be major spoilers ahead. Is The Last of Us Part 2 the perfect sequel? In short, no, definitely not. It has its flaws, which we will delve into momentarily. The sequel continues its story 4 years after the original game, following the aftermath of Joel escaping St. Mary's Hospital with Ellie. The Last of Us Part 2 has two playable characters in Ellie and a new character, Abby, a former member of the now extinct militia group known as the Fireflies, who is now a part of a new militant organization known as the Washington Liberation Front, or WLF for short. At first glance, Abby seems like she is going to be a character that has a brand new story to tell, separate from the main story, and a chance to expand this world beyond what we've seen. We quickly learn that this isn't the case, as Abby is rescued by Joel and his brother Tommy from a countless group of infected who were chasing after her. Upon bringing Joel and Tommy back to her group locked up in a house in the mountains, it's revealed that Abby is actually the antagonist of this game, and just a little over an hour into The Last of Us Part 2 story, kills Joel in cold blood. During this, Ellie arrives after being told that Joel and Tommy never made it back to their post, and watches it unfold. Thus begins this heavily revenge-themed story. One of the biggest problems that many fans have with this game is the death of Joel. I think for the most part, a lot of people saw this coming. For this game to even happen, Ellie needed a reason to do something outlandish, and having Joel killed was probably the only thing they could have done to invoke that reaction of revenge, which is the theme they are driving home the most. It's the way Naughty Dog seemed to go about it is what really irked a lot of people. A character of this caliber, a man who we all grew to love his selfish decisions that were made solely based on a soft, sensitive and caring side that hadn't come out since before the outbreak. Every choice Joel made in the original game was self-centered, and we cannot ignore this fact. Whether you want to agree with it or not, Joel was a bad man. He wasn't a good guy. What he did to Dr. Anderson at St. Mary's Hospital, how he stripped Ellie of the choice to create a cure, to what he and Tommy did at the start of the outbreak. We watched this man have one of the best character developments in any video game in a way that made the player feel sorry for an asshole. Joel represents someone who lost everything and made peace with having nothing. Then, when he found a shred of love, he held onto it like it was everything, only to lose it all again. And in the absence of love, he would not linger, not for hope that love would give him a morsel of the shred of love he had before, but because he loved her, and if she even knew that, that would be enough. And when she cried out for him during his last breath, he was at peace again, only this time having everything. That is elite storytelling, and it's what Naughty Dog has done so well for so many years. Joel got a second chance at a daughter figure after having his actual daughter taken away from him. Joel loses Sarah in perhaps the most horrific way imaginable for a parent, holding her in his arms when she bleeds out, whimpering and crying. Knowing that by the end of The Last of Us that he was going to lose Ellie too made him act on his own accord, and he took it amongst himself to make the choice. So to have all of that masterful build of a character go out at the hands of a golf club is a goddamn travesty. It really is. And to have people say that Joel is smart enough to sense when something like this would happen is true to a degree, but you surely have to forgive the fact that he was on the run from a rabid group of infected. I don't care how smart you are, if your life is at stake, you're not thinking about anything else. And by the time he could even have a chance to feel like something was up, he was already surrounded. It was way too late for him. Unfortunately, his best intentions were what got him killed. He took a chance to help someone who was out there for years looking for him, and he found himself at the receiving end of a 9-iron. Now, I personally didn't mind the story that Naughty Dog wanted to tell, but I think it was just how they told it that really had me feeling different moods. Don't get me wrong, a lot of the emotional cutscenes in this game are as good as they were in the first one. The scenes when we flash back with Joel and Ellie are brilliant. Unfortunately, we didn't get to see many cutscenes with them together, but in the brief moments of emotional drama between the action and horror in this game delivers is on point, and is what we expect this studio to give us, especially between these two characters. I was hooked in, clinging on every word spoken. Every gut-punching, heartbreaking conversation felt very much on par with the quality to its predecessor. Watching Joel finally admit to why he didn't leave Ellie with the Fireflies, and then Ellie's reaction to it, was almost tear-jerking. I just wish we got more of it. and I wish it happened in a more linear way. This goes back to the way Naughty Dog decided to tell this story. The constant jumping backwards and forwards in time was almost exhausting. We saw cutscenes 3/4 of the way through the game that we should have gotten the first hour. All the jumps in time was like a dizzying display of nausea, and especially in the flashbacks, it made me forget what part in time I was supposed to be in. This game's story could have been told with so much more quality if we had started from one bit of time and then followed it all the way through to the end. If we got Joel and Ellie moments for the first few hours of the game, with the occasional Abby moments early on, and then Joel's death at the hands of Abby, followed by Ellie's couple of cutscenes following the death of Tommy, Tina, and Maria, then we could have gone with Ellie's day 1 in Seattle, and then Abby's day 1 in Seattle, then Ellie's day 2 in Seattle, and so on and so forth. A more linear approach of this game would have given it so much more love from fans that it easily would have delivered. And going off that, to me the most frustrating thing this game made me do was actually play as Abby for 3 in-game days, immediately after playing as Ellie for the same amount of time. Having to play as Abby almost felt like a chore at times. Playing as this character for a large portion of the game, knowing what her and her friend circle did to Joel, made it really difficult for me to invest in what she was actually trying to accomplish. In some of the cutscenes, I was tempted to skip some of them just because I couldn't bring myself to care enough. For the most part, I was just downright bored playing as her, wishing I was back at the theatre as Ellie. Things do pick up when we arrive at the forest portion where we get to meet Lev and Yara, who in my opinion are probably the best developed characters in this game. From here, Abby definitely has some fantastic action bits and some great character moments, but it ultimately wasn't enough to get me behind this character because in the back of my mind, I couldn't bring myself to caring about her because she killed our beloved Joel Miller. With all of that out of the way, I have to say that this game is fucking great. To its credit, Naughty Dog managed to create the most beautiful game I have ever seen. The graphics in The Last of Us Part 2 are absolutely state-of-the-art, with gorgeous, breathtaking sceneries across the American Northwest. Every moment of playing this game, the setting around you sets the tone for what's to come. Whether it's simply riding your horse through the forest or entering a near-collapsed building in Seattle with spores. This game combines the action and horror genres perfectly. And to add to that tone of an already anxiety-filled video game, the sound and the music of The Last of Us Part 2 really adds to the intensity, much like it did in the first one. Some of the most heart-racing moments contain no music at all, as you attempted to stealth through a dark room filled with runners and clickers. The combat system in itself was fine. It is almost identical to how it was in the first game, with very little changing in its sequel. And this is a good thing. What isn't broken, don't try to fix it. This can lead, however, to very repetitive moments as you progress through the game. Constantly stealthing, hiding behind objects just to get behind an enemy to take them out eventually got a little tiring. But never at times did I want to go all out guns blazing. I never wanted to alert the enemy to my presence. And if by some miracle I was ever spotted as I stealthed through it, is when the game's combat system really made you switch it up. Having to adjust the way you want to map out how to kill all the enemies in a room on the fly was tense. I could stealth kill somebody and get spotted, and I would need to sprint away to cover as quickly as I could. The enemy would be on high alert, especially the humans. Watching a Scar or a Wolf or a Rattler with their weapon at the ready go from cover to cover looking for me at seemingly random AI path felt very tense, and giving the enemy characters names really added to the intensity of the situation and made it feel real. It's not just another enemy you're stabbing in the head with a shiv. His name was Chris, and he had his own thing going on, man. As well as this, the addition of hostile dogs made stealthing through some parts very difficult, especially if you were attempting to avoid killing those dogs like I was. You could be holding R1 to see where 2 enemies were going to move ahead of you, and not realize that the dog in the previous room behind you was picking up your scent. It made for some moments where I felt cornered, and I had to really think quickly if I didn't want to be spotted. Throwing a bottle or a brick at a wall alerts the dog to that location, which can allow you to sneak on through the small window you have created. And while I get that a lot of people are angry that you can kill dogs in this game, killing the actual human owner of that dog was way more fucking sadder. Watching that poor papa stand over his dead companion, whimpering and looking around all scared made me feel like such an asshole. It's the little things like this that give this sequel just a bit more flavor to each combat situation. While it feels repetitive, especially towards the later part of the game, it worked, and that's what matters. And despite it all, The Last of Us Part 2 has some seriously incredible character moments. Most of them come from Ellie herself, who didn't have a huge grin on their face when Ellie and Joel were going through that museum. Who didn't sit back and relax to Ashley Johnson's beautiful voice as she sang Take On Me in the music store in downtown Seattle? Who didn't almost tear up watching Ellie feel absolutely betrayed by Joel when he finally admitted what happened back at the hospital? It's the moments like these that really save this game's story, and it's the moments like these that we will look back fondly on when reminiscing about this game. There is way too much negativity regarding The Last of Us Part 2, and it's very undeserving of the 1 to 3 stars it's getting. Feel angry all you want, you cannot deny the hard work that went into every other aspect of this game. You cannot give this game a 1-star rating that begin to compliment everything about it. You cannot give this game a 1-star rating just by looking at the leaks that came out months beforehand and not even playing it and judging it for yourself. People that are complaining that they made Ellie gay in this game clearly never played Left Behind, and honestly, the main character's sexuality shouldn't bother anybody. I didn't feel like Naughty Dog constantly threw it in my face the whole time I played this. And then we get to the ending, which is what a lot of people had a problem with too. And look, I get it. Why keep alive the one person who brutally murdered the individual you were closest to? It's a hard one to pinpoint, but it's possible that she forgives Abby because it was too late for her to forgive Joel, as shown in the final conversation that they have together. It's likely Ellie may have seen a little bit of herself in Abby, a young girl who was driven to unspeakable acts of violence to protect the ones she loves most. It's also possible she saw a brief glimpse of her relationship with Joel in the bond that Abby and Lev shared. As much hate as I'm probably going to get for this next comment, Abby and Joel are a lot alike. They have both done horrifying things to survive, yet they become better people by learning to take care for and protect the ones close to them. And to me, all of that makes me okay with how this game ended. It leaves it open for a potential third installment while keeping both of these characters alive. So, the biggest question coming out is this. Is this the story the fans wanted? No. I feel like Naughty Dog could have told 100 better stories than this one, and it would have been on par with the original. As well as this, the developers also could have made this game a bit more linear instead of jumping backwards and forwards in time. And as much as I loved the flashback scenes with Joel and Ellie, I feel like they could have pulled at our heartstrings even more if we started the story with Joel and Ellie for a few hours before eventually coming to that death scene that made all of us so upset. But I liked the risk that they took. I appreciate the fact that they took a stab at something different. Killing off Joel, and especially as early as they did, was a huge chance they took, and it set the tone for the rest of the game. The Last of Us Part 2's main theme is based on revenge, and perhaps they spilled the metaphorical revenge ink all over this painting that they've been working on for so long, to the point where it almost became a repetitive, infuriating trip. But what I appreciate the most is that the Naughty Dog crew didn't cater to the demands of the fanbase. I'm an individual who appreciates watching a story unfold before my eyes in a way that the creators intended to do it. Not only in video games, but in all forms of media. I want to experience what the storyteller is trying to get across to me. Creating a sequel to what a lot of gamers consider their all-time favorite game, myself included, is a very difficult process. It's a big ask. How do you improve on a masterpiece? You can't. It's almost impossible to accomplish this, but Neil Druckmann and the Naughty Dog crew still managed to put together an incredible game. It's not the story that we wanted, but it's what we got, and despite that, everything else about the game and how it plays is damn near perfect, and doesn't deserve the insultingly low ratings that fans have been giving it. Thanks for watching, and if you want to see more reviews like this one, feel free to subscribe to our channel for more content. If you agree or disagree with any of these points, feel free to comment below with what you thought about The Last of Us Part 2. Once again, I'm Keelan from the Nerd Grid, and we'll catch you next time.